What are the easiest and hardest ranks to reach in video games? In this video, I'll be ranking 9 of the most competitive games on a tier list from S to F. At the end, I'll crown one rank as the easiest and one as the hardest rank to reach. To make sure your favorite game doesn't end up in F tier, it needs to tick 3 boxes. It must have a high skill ceiling that encourages mastery. It needs to have a strategic aspect to it, meaning it demands complex decision making, and it needs to have an intense player interaction that keeps every match unpredictable and high stakes. Supersonic Legend, or SSL for short, is Rocket League's highest rank. At first glance, the game may look simple. Score more goals than the other team before the game ends. If it's tied, it goes to overtime until one team scores. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's one of the most mechanically demanding games out there, if not the most. It's a game like no other, where every player starts at the same level by learning the basics, because there aren't any transferable skills like shooter games. Toy Car Soccer is a unique game. In fact, at the highest level, it looks like a completely different game. The high skill ceiling comes from mastering not only the flashy mechanics, but especially the basics. Dribbling, aerials, rotations, passing, which is underrated by the way, consistency, defense, decision making, and the hardest of them all, open nets. But it's not all brawn, no brain. You need to learn rotations for offense and defense, and other things like shadow defense, kickoff strategies, teamwork, and ball possession. The only aspect of luck is the demolition spawn. Notably, the game isn't over until the ball touches the ground. So if you're down by 1 and the clock hits 0, there's still a possibility to win.
Tries to clear. It is almost there. It just has to hit the floor. Bernard Panda puts it a long way, and it's almost there. Justin keeps it alive. Teleposit there. Bounces into the corner. Energy still around. Justin is there for the shot. Justin! This is Rocket League!
With most players being in plat, only 0.01% of players are SSL. And if your teammates stop throwing your games, maybe that'll increase that stat to 0.0100001. With all that being said, SSL gets a nice comfy spot in S tier. The debate for the hardest rank is usually between Rocket League's SSL and League of Legends Challenger. It's been one of the most popular games of all time, and is probably the biggest in esports. At its base, 2 teams of 5 battle it out on a map called Summoner's Rift. To win, you destroy the enemy's base before they destroy yours. Each base has a series of turrets and waves of minions that constantly spawn. League is one of the most strategically demanding games on the list, and also has a massive skill ceiling. The combination of intricate mechanics, constant meta shifts, and high player interaction means only the most dedicated players can reach the high ranks. It's probably the most complicated game. There are over 169 champions with unique abilities. A good player has to understand what each of them do, how they play against other champions, and what counters what. You need to know your champion inside out, understand your lane opponent, adapt your build to your team and the enemy team, maintain map awareness, secure objectives, and communicate with your team. All of this while clicking at lightning speed, spamming abilities, and dealing with one of the most notoriously toxic communities in gaming. If you can do all that, you might only reach Emerald before going mentally insane, if you aren't already. Most players sit around bronze, silver, and gold, while only 0.015% sit at the top of the ranked ladder, putting Challenger at S tier. Now getting into the shooter games, one of the oldest games around, CSGO. Global Elite is the highest rank achievable. CS is a first-person shooter video game that is based on search and destroy. There are 2 teams, A and B. The goal of Team A is to plant the bomb and defend the bomb until it explodes, and Team B has to defend bomb sites and defuse the bomb if it is planted. The structure of CS is that there are 10 players in the server, meaning each team has 5 players. The game is played until one team wins 16 rounds. In regular gameplay, there are 30 rounds played, and if necessary, there is overtime that is played until a winner is declared.
Look at the time, there's 7 seconds, they've got the bomb. They're trying to build pyramids, but there's no more play. Stewie's won the round, we go to overtime.
The principles of the game are pretty straightforward, and your skill isn't limited by the game's mechanics. It has simple physics, simple objectives, simple maps, and it's not that hard to shoot unlike other games. And because it's so simple, it leaves room for skill and teamwork to be the main elements of the game. However, the movement mechanics add depth and nuance, forming the backbone of competitive play and entire communities. Mastering elements like counter-strafing, recoil control, precise utility placement, B-hopping, game sense, decision-making, and teamwork is essential for success. Out of the millions of players in CS, just 1.2% of the player base reach Global Elite, A tier. It's heavily debated that Valorant is just a copy-paste of CS. Radiant is the highest rank in Valorant. It's a basic 5v5 shooter where one team must plant a spike, which is basically a bomb, and the other team has to defuse it, just like CS. However, unlike CS, each character is an agent and has unique abilities that require understanding and practice to use effectively. Utility is what makes Valorant Valorant. Believe it or not, there's actually more to it than just getting flashed every 3 seconds. You block vision, force the enemy team to leave a position, try to get a kill, obtain information about where or where not the opponents are, delay a push, and so on. Learning how to combine these abilities with gunplay adds a layer of complexity. Besides the basic focus on shooting mechanics, including recoil control, aim, and crosshair placement, there's also an ecosystem. After each round, you get a certain amount of credits, with which you buy your weapons and abilities. To capitalize off of this, players must strategically plan how they spend their credits for the best possible outcome, just like CS. To balance all of this strategic board game in the back of your head while actively playing an FPS is no easy task. Mastering these requires a ridiculous amount of skill. While most players sit in gold and silver, only a measly 0.02% reach the top of the ranked ladder. Radiant gets A tier along with its sibling. Overwatch is an interesting game, and maybe one of the most interactive. To win, you have to complete the objective based on the map, where 2 teams of 6 compete. Sometimes you have to push a robot, other times you have to push or defend the payload. There are 3 classes you can play as: tank, damage, and support. Each has their own kit of abilities and unique ultimate. You need to learn and know each one down to the T, and know which hero counters which. Overwatch is the hardest game to aim in. People are constantly changing heights, every hero fires extremely differently, movement is absolutely busted, hitboxes are inconsistent, and abilities are weird to play around. Compared to the games where aim is consistent, Overwatch is a whole other story. At the highest level, everything is faster, and the meta constantly changes and you have to keep up. Strategy-wise, you need to know many things: team comps, timing, positioning, plays. Do you dive in, flank, or hold an angle? There are also little things you need to know. For instance, if 4 people on your team die on point, including your support, you should just die as well. If you try to survive, you're just feeding and giving the enemy team ult charge. The reason for this is because it's more valuable than trying to survive 4 seconds longer. Respawn alone and leave your team in a 5v6. Instead, you should die instantly. That way, you can reset back into a new 6v6 fight. Also, please don't go in alone and ult in a 1v6. It never works. Before, the highest rank was Grandmaster, but in Season 9, Blizzard added a new rank, Champion, just above Grandmaster. With over 35% of players stuck in gold, just 0.07 of players make it to Champion. Since this new rank was added, it pushed everyone down a rank. Players reportedly responded with difficulties ranking up. Champion gets a nice spot in A tier. Grandmaster is the highest possible ranking in chess and needs no introduction. Apart from the world champion, GM is the highest title a chess player can attain. At first glance, chess seems just like another strategy board game, but imagine this for just the first 4 moves. There are over 318 billion different possible combination of moves. By the 10th move, this number has increased to 169 billion. That's 169 followed by 27 zeros. Mechanics-wise, chess is relatively simple. To win, you have to checkmate the opponent. Chess requires mastering a vast array of strategies, patterns, openings, and concepts that are essential for high-level play. Spatial reasoning is particularly challenging. To put it into perspective, pro players can spend almost a whole hour before making a single move in a classical chess game. Additionally, chess can be expensive, both in time and money. Achieving mastery demands significant time. Becoming a grandmaster takes years and years of dedicated practice and expert coaching. And even then, sometimes it's still out of reach. Competitive play often involves travel, which adds to the costs, and entry fees for tournaments can be substantial. Not only that, but you must practically dedicate yourself to the game, while earning pennies from earnings, putting Grandmaster at S tier. Fortnite, the most popular battle royale game and the most unique. And let's be honest, we all played it. The game offers an easy entry point, but boasts an extremely high skill ceiling of any FPS, battle royale, or tactical shooter. Of course, you need incredible aim, but the building is what really sets Fortnite apart from all the other games. Even after years of it being released, there are new mechanics that come out every season. Building, aiming, positioning, rotations, constant updates, meta changes, new maps every season, and arguably one of the most demanding decision-making games. It's not easy to stay at the top. Game sense and decision making are crucial in Fortnite. You could have flawless strategy and movement, but a single mistake, like choosing the wrong heals, picking up a less effective weapon, or rotating through the wrong part of the map can come back and haunt you in the endgame. I mean, just imagine over 30 people in the last zones, which are tiny little circles on the map. Absolute chaos. It's incredible how many micro factors need to align for a win, unless luck is on your side. Each choice matters, and one misstep can snowball into a costly consequence later. However, Unreal, the highest rank, isn't that difficult. Yes, the skill to be the best like a pro player is no joke whatsoever, but the ranking system is different. It's relatively easy to rank up, get a few kills, and make it past top 50. I mean, look at this guy, he made it there by not doing anything every single game. Again, getting Unreal and being the best are two completely different things. Unreal gets A tier, but because of those reasons, it gets bumped down to B tier. StarCraft 2 is probably the most complicated game. It's very in-depth and has a very steep learning curve. Before you start a game, you can pick a race from the 3 that are available. The main objective of this game is pretty simple. Kill the opponent's structures and units. A game is won by destroying all of your opponent's structures. At the start of a game, you have exactly 12 workers. They are there to mine the blue crystals called minerals for you. You will be able to build more workers, buildings, and of course, units. The core mechanics of this game can be divided into 2, micro and macro. Micromanagement is the process of controlling your units during the game. Macromanagement is the mechanic of getting your economy up to speed and getting a good army. While micro might not be as important as macro, it is still definitely something you need to know. Micromanagement is basically a term used to describe controlling your units. In this game, you want to make sure you use your units' abilities, position them right for engagement, and use the units you have available as much as you can. Honestly, it's a game that's relatively simple to learn, but much harder to master. It has one of the highest skill caps because there's always something you can be doing. In even an incredibly difficult game to perform well, like League of Legends, there is some downtime where you don't have to be doing something. Whereas StarCraft, there is likely something you can be doing in a fraction of a second to improve your situation. It's certainly up there in difficulty to master as far as competitive PvP games are concerned. What truly makes StarCraft complex is that your opponent is a human that has been given enough control in a world with many variables, which creates almost limitless possibilities. Grandmaster League. The league represents the top 200 players in each region. In other words, the top 200 players in Master, the rank right below, are Grandmaster. S tier. Champion is the highest rank in Rainbow Six Siege. Siege is a team-based shooter and has similar objectives to Valorant and CS. Some say that Siege has the steepest learning curve. When team plants the bomb, the other team defuses it. Each player can play as an operator that has unique abilities. Rainbow Six Siege thrives on the strategic depth, which requires an exceptional understanding of its huge map pool. Each map offers multiple levels, destructible walls, ceilings, and floors, creating an environment where adaptability is crucial. Unlike traditional shooters, the game's destruction mechanics mean that no angle or cover is permanently safe. Players must account for vertical play. Defenders can be attacked from above or below, and attackers can create new sightlines through reinforced walls. Knowing the maps is not just about memorizing room layouts, it's about understanding the flow of engagement and anticipating where enemies may set up traps or ambushes, and predicting their rotations. Mistakes like choosing the wrong entry point or failing to control critical map areas can be devastating. Mastery of these elements separates casual players from high-level players. There is so much more to becoming good at Siege than just pure aim. You need various skills such as map knowledge, game sense, tactics, intel gathering and utilizing, and communication. 0.3% is in the highest rank, putting Champion at A tier. It's hard to decide which rank is the hardest to achieve, as every game is unique in its own way, and requires thousands of hours of gameplay and practice to even be considered good. If push came to shove and one had to be decided as the most difficult, it would be Grandmaster and Chess. Think about it. If you had 10 years to play in any of these games, by the 10th year, you would definitely be the highest rank in any of these games, except Chess, because you could dedicate your whole life to playing chess, but never reach Grandmaster. That's just how much it takes to be the best. A close second would be StarCraft 2, followed by League of Legends and Rocket League. As for the easiest, it would be Unreal and Fortnite.